What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Legit's Fired Up Championship Sunday edition. I'm your co-host, Too Stupid to Win, and as always, I'm joined by Mars Utah. How are we doing on this wonderful Saturday morning before Championship Sunday?
Oh, another fantastic day here. I'm going to apologize in advance, a little nasally for the folks, so I don't have my beautiful voice. But yeah, excited here. We're coming to the end of the line. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, we got this, and then we have the big game, and then it's over with. Unfortunately, Upland had to cancel the Triple Threat Challenge for the rest of the season. I don't know what kind of technical difficulties were going on there, so that is kind of sad. And so, yeah, there is that. But this is week 3 of the what are they calling that?
Playoff Blitz, I believe. Something
Ye-
Blitz.
yeah, something like that. I had it in my notes, meant to grab the slide earlier, and then it Mars saw pre-show. It was nothing but all 4 of my kids needing something, and usually they're asleep this early on a Saturday morning, but not today.
Oh, it's the Ultimate Fan Challenge, round 3.
Yes, there you go. So,
Yes. Yeah, I'm
and
more of a fan of the triple threat, so that's a shame. The Ultimate Fan Challenge is cool, but it really relies on just acquiring more mementos and essentials every week. So that's a little more tough than the triple threat challenge.
yeah, and I like the triple threat challenge just because you got to figure out which team for the week you want to use and then which 3 players are going to hit. And if you just use the common ones, there's a lot of strategy. We can do that once they have the triple threat ironed out for next year. So no reason to get into that and strategies if they're not going to have it.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll fire that up for next year, hopefully, and have a lot of this stuff smoothed out on the Upland side as well.
Yeah. So for this week, I do like they changed it, but that always throws me off. StreamYard changed the way that you share screens now, so it puts it's different, and it throws me off every time I go to pull up a shared screen now. So
How
just
dare they?
I know, in the name of improvement.
Don't they know that we're used to these certain things? Gosh.
Yeah. So this week we do move from the divisional wild card pricing into the championship pricing. So you're looking at 700,000 UpX for a game ball this week, 420,000 for a cap. You know, we've discussed this before on the show that's a lot for a cap, and it's just not really like a football type thing. That's your baseball style stuff, you know.
I did notice after I was making fun of the caps last week and said that only backups who don't play wear them. Our guy George Kittle religiously rocks the hat on the sideline.
I saw that too. I was like, that guy's not a backup.
Foot in mouth immediately, of course.
Yeah. And then for your tier 1 players, the jerseys go up to 630,000 UpX. For the tier 2, 320, tier 3, 200,000, 130, and even $70,000 for your backups that very rarely see the field.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs. So know that it's going to be a little more expensive. And this week is very challenging trying to identify some fire stat players to have multiple fire stats. It's going to be something different.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, we've talked about the way, especially with the running backs, the yards pile up. So that's with the amount of hybrid players nowadays, it is getting challenging.
Yeah. So this week's injury report, biggest news. I don't understand that. They're like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo's, you know, he didn't make it to practice and they were hoping to get him back. You can't put him in after being out this long, and Brock Purdy's doing such a great job for you. Yeah, he's got experience, but rock with the dude that's rolling, you know?
Yeah, that would be insanity. First of all, he hasn't lost a game yet, but also just continuity, rust. I can't believe that they would ever put him in there. Obviously, you'd probably want to have him as a backup because I don't know who's backing up their third backup, but
I don't either. And then the running back situation in San Francisco is something you closely want to monitor. And that's something we've meant to mention the last few shows is when a player gets traded, Upland doesn't move the individual. So you can't pick up Christian McCaffrey at all.
Yeah, yeah, we were recommending him quite a bit, and I didn't realize. I know I assumed that they wouldn't be fast on those transactions, but I assumed he would have made it to San Francisco at some point. So, yeah, some more things to keep in mind and focus on, and hopefully we can share some of this feedback with Upland and get some of these things changed next year, possibly.
Yeah, and that's the challenge there. Oh, Josh Johnson's the backup to Brock Purdy.
Ah, okay. The well-traveled Josh Johnson.
Yes. Now Christian McCaffrey, he's been dealing with the quad or calf issue this week. Watch the injury report. Elijah Mitchell would be the next one you'd fire up, but Elijah Mitchell's also been not practicing much this week. And the interesting thing is when yeah. Then you get Jordan Mason or Terrion Davis Price as your running backs after that. So that will be interesting to watch. The link to the NFL injury reports is always attached to the podcast. The show down below in the comments. So go ahead and click that as you're purchasing your mementos.
Yeah, luckily, Mitchell has been playing well once he gets in there, so we'll see how that shakes out. Definitely an interesting one, but the fact that you can't pick up McCaffrey makes it a little more clear cut if you want to go with a 49ers runner.
Yeah. And then from the Chiefs Bengals game, nothing really. Their Bengals left tackle Jonah Williams is still out with his knee. Alex Kappa, their guard, is still out with his ankle injury. Not many people chasing offensive linemen unless they're trying to complete challenges. Patrick Mahomes' ankle, he full participated. He's off the injury report. Travis Kelce is having back problems this week, but he did participate fully in practice. And McKinnon was on the report, but he practiced also. So the only one really questionable is Mecole Harmon, but not many people are buying his stuff. So
No, yeah, some interesting injuries there. The Mahomes thing is really baffling because as far as I know, they're still calling it a high ankle sprain.
yeah,
And he does not look like a guy that has a high ankle sprain. He's
no,
hobbled, but he's moving around pretty well. That's usually a 4 to 6 week injury, and it took him about 15 minutes.
yeah. Well, cortisone shots do amazing things for you.
Yeah.
And you saw our boy Tony Pollard broke his fibia last week.
Yes. Going into free agency as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with our podcast favorite, Tony Pollard.
Yeah. All right, games of the week. We have two games, and both of them make games of the week. San Francisco and the Eagles, 46.5 total points scored, and Cincinnati and KC, 48 points total scored.
Be,
Kind of
be ba-
interesting.
I was gonna say it'd be bad if we had no games of the week.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Um, so that gets us over into the individual plays, and here we try to help you find which players have the best chance to give you multiple fire stats. You would think, being the championship round, it would be a lot easier. But nobody's really been throwing for 300 yards lately. Burrow and Mahomes have the potential to throw for 300 yards and the 2 touchdowns, but they haven't cracked the 300 yards in a few weeks now. Um, and then Purdy, he's flirted with, I think he has one 300-yard game. So, you don't have many people floating with that 300 yards. The 2 touchdowns, QB rating of 100, still possible, but you're playing some good defenses this week too. So that can increase your interception rate.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a tough call, really. I think the only one I would possibly think about throwing some upics at would be Joe, Jason, Justin, Josh Burrow.
Multi-personality Burrow
Yeah,
per TML.
shout out to TML for his inability to remember what the J stands for. But yeah, I think that game could be interesting. He's really been on fire, and they seem motivated and taking the fact that they're selling tickets to the possible offsite game in Atlanta very personally. So I think that the Bengals and Joe Burrow have a chip on their shoulder. So he'd be
and
the
he
only one I might go for.
and he's performed very well against Kansas City, and Kansas City's also giving up the most fantasy style points to quarterbacks, so that translates into a lot of yardage and touchdowns. And so you do have a great pass funnel matchup for Joe Burrow in this game. So I agree with you. I do like that. Running backs, I have no running backs this week.
Yeah, I am kind of with you. Depending on game script and things, the only one that I think has some potential is possibly Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. He did have a good game last week and does bust some long runs. The 2 touchdowns could be difficult because they seem to get poached by Jerick McKinnon a lot. But yeah, he's the only one I see with some kind of potential at all.
Yeah, he was on my list, but I just his use between the 20s and not really seeing inside the 20-yard work, and it was the touchdowns, but he could definitely hit three out of the five fires with the rushing yards, average rush, and longest rush. That's definitely there. Other than that, nothing really across the board. If McCaffrey and Mitchell play, McCaffrey only sees about 34% of the snaps when Mitchell's active. So his usage really drops down. They try to limit his touches, which is crazy. But anyway, he's still dealing with an injury. And then in Cincinnati, you have Mixon and P. Ryan, and they're splitting. They're pretty much that's a timeshare in itself. And Kansas City does open up more catches to the running back position. So you'll see more usage from P. Ryan, Samaje P. Ryan versus Mixon there. So yeah, the only potential is Pachiro. So
Yeah, Mixon, I think it's possible, but he had a big day already in the playoffs, but they're hard to come by. So really wouldn't be confident picking him, especially with the amount of times they're going to throw the ball.
yep. Now to the pass catchers, a lot of pass catchers that have great potential, but we're talking about offenses here that spread the ball around. You got the wonderful duo in Philadelphia with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. And actually, in the playoffs, Smith is seeing more targeted percentage than AJ Brown, but they're both over 25%. It's going through those two. And if it's not going to those two, it's going to Dallas Goddard. So, or Goddard.
Yeah, whichever one. Yeah, I agree with you there. I tend to like Devonta Smith probably more out of the two. We talked about it a little bit last week, but San Francisco, they do have a strong defense, but it seems their one weak spot is the longer pass over the top, and that's what Devonta Smith seems a little more built for than AJ Brown.
Yep.
So I kind of favor him in that matchup. And yeah, there is a vast amount of guys to go through here. I think obviously Jamar Chase probably is going to have a big day, but if you're looking for someone on the lower UPX side, I think Tyler Boyd could be a sneaky play just because of the possible attention that Jamar Chase could be getting from the defense.
Yeah, that would be a good stretch since Tyler Boyd hasn't gone over 60 yards, but I can see him getting 5 receptions longer than 20 and a touchdown in there. I don't know if he could hit the trifecta depending on how big of a shootout this turns into. Maybe even hit you 4 for 4, but the yardage there scares me for Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, it's really my only feeling is that, as you said, he's been a little down lately, but having good games is on his is possible for him. So if the Chiefs overplay, the defense trying to stop Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, then possibly there's a vulnerability there.
Oh, absolutely. And all it takes is one good breakaway over the middle, and you're good. Short slant and gone.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been interesting with these playoffs, these loaded teams, but very hard to pick guys confidently for these upland categories.
And then Travis Kelsey's always a good bet there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the only one I really wrote down. I'm tempted to look at Goddard, but his yardage really is never up to par for the 100 yards, and with Fred Warner being on San Francisco and the best coverage linebacker in the league, those two will probably be matched up. So that's not a good sign.
No.
And yeah, not sure about the potential on our guy Kittle this week. So
Yep. But he ate last week. Jeez.
Yes, literally off of his face, one of them. He caught a ball off of his face, so he's really
Yes.
eating.
Yes. So it will be interesting to see if there's a repeat performance there. But they Philadelphia's defense really plans for stuff like that. So, yeah, Kelsey would be my bet there. And Goddard hasn't had over 67 yards since week 9. So, him hitting over 100 yards, not so likely.
Yeah, with the Chiefs situation that they're in, you got Mahomes banged up a little bit, and Kelsey set the record for tight ends in the playoffs last week with catches and was just 1 or 2 catches from the record for all positions, wide receiver included. So with the
Yeah.
injury, you could see Mahomes go into a safety blanket even more or the same amount there.
Yeah. All right. And anything else on offense you want to touch on?
I don't, like you said, kind of slim pickings. But yeah, that's those are the best guys that really jump out to me there.
And over to defense. High scoring games and projected high scoring games in both of them. I don't see the blowouts. I see everybody going over 300 yards. Um, all the backfields are pretty solid with their ball security. That gets tougher and tougher there. So once again, it's hard to pick out some linemen, linebackers, and secondary this week.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple guys, just looking through. So I did have some kind of recommendations here. One of the less known guys to the casual fans, I kind of like Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals going against the Chiefs. Obviously, I doubt he hits the yards allowed category, but he plays very well against Orlando Brown, one of the tackles on the Chiefs. For some reason, that personal matchup history, Brown seems to have a really hard time with Trey Hendrickson, so that could be a sneaky play. And last week, Frank Clark and Chris Jones on Kansas City were quite fired up, so they could be bringing the heat this week again. So kind of like Frank Clark to possibly get a sack today.
Especially with the injuries to Cincinnati's offensive line, but that Joe Burrow is very elusive in the pocket, so it'll be an interesting matchup. And this will be the 4th time they've matched up in a relatively short period of time. So it'll be interesting to see if Andy Reid's made adjustments or if Burrow's going to continue to own Kansas City.
Yeah, Burrow has gotten better at avoiding those sacks, but yeah, I don't know if you saw the interview after the game last week on the field with Frank Clark and Chris Jones, but it was pretty hysterical. So those guys are pretty fired up. So be interesting to see what they can pull off this week.
Yeah. And
And
then
yeah, I was just gonna say going to the secondary. Not a lot of guys I'm super confident in there. So, I'm going to go with one of my old standouts. He had a good game last week and narrowly missed a couple turnovers. Talanoa Hufanga for San Francisco.
yes.
He's seems to be all over the place. A little Tasmanian devil action, just whirling around, causing havoc. So he may be the best bet in the secondary today.
Uh-oh. Here comes the show crasher.
Uh-oh. Yogurt or popcorn? He knows. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what's up.
He's ready for a star turn here. Looking for his shine.
And he came through like gangbusters through the door to the room. He just kicked it in like bam. He's like, Dad, it's Saturday morning. Let's roll. Have anything else on defense there?
No, those are the only ones I can really recommend. As we said, the yards allowed is going to be tough, so you're really getting down to the fine tooth comb stuff with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And to our favorite part of the episode, snapping and kicking.
Yes, luckily it fared a little better last week than my horrendous suggestion the week before.
Yeah. Hey, whoever's on the piano, please stop. Oh, it's you. Okay.
All around entertainer. Keeping our guy too stupid on his toes over there.
All right. I don't see a lot of field goals or punting this week.
Yeah, the kicking here is probably going to be slim. A lot of teams that score touchdowns and also like to go for it if they're in that range quite often on reasonable fourth downs. So yeah, these could be really tough. As far as a kicker, I zeroed in on Harrison Butker for the Chiefs just because of possible volume and the fact that Mahomes is hobbled. They could maybe stall out a little more, but not real confident there.
I went with Robbie Gould from San Francisco. I have a feeling that they're going to be really challenged with Philadelphia's defense.
Yeah, that could be turned into a low-scoring game with those two defenses. So that's a solid choice.
The only thing that Kyle Shanahan has a great run offense, and that's where Philadelphia is pretty weak. Is they're towards the bottom part of the bottom quarter of the league in their rushing, especially like the off tackle stuff that Shanahan likes to do. So there is the potential there that they can get gashed on the ground, but we also talked about the challenges to their backfield right now. So I could see a Robbie Gould day.
Yeah, that's a solid call. With the analytics revolution here in coaching, the amount of times these guys are going for it on fourth down is really cutting down on the field goals. They're either really long or usually going for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, for punters and snappers, I zeroed in on the Eagles for this, just because obviously San Francisco, I think, has the best defense left, and it's a hard call. As we said, probably won't be a lot of kicking, but kind of like Brett Kern in the kicking department. And then I'm not sure if we've mentioned him this week, so we'll give him a little shine. Old Rick Lovato for the Eagles is my long snapper this week.
Nice. My long snapper of the week is Tabor Pepper from the San Francisco 49ers.
All name team as well. Tabor Pepper.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
what you need to be a long snapper is you need a name. You just can't be Joe Smith and be a long snapper. You got to have a cool name to be a long snapper.
I agree. As we've dug into researching long snappers for the first time in my multi-decade fantasy football career, I have noticed that a vast majority of them have awesome names.
Yeah. But first time I've ever paid much attention to the long snapper, and that was a great segment of the show this year. So,
Yeah, good times. They deserve their shine. They play such a critical part. They're on the field at least 4 times a game.
yes. But their 4 times are important times a game. And yeah, no, but as always, thank you guys so much for watching each week. If you have any suggestions or want to see something different from us, go ahead, put that in the comments. We have this week, and then next week is the big game. Well, you take a week off, and then you have the big game.
Yes, getting right down to the end of the season here. We'll have to talk, but yeah, since we only have one game to talk about next time, I was gonna try to put together some fun things to kind of wrap up the season here if I can, and put a little stamp on this season. I'm legit fired up.
I like that. And then, got anything before we get out of here this week, Mars?
I don't. Just yeah, good luck out there to everybody. If you're attacking those mementos, trying to find that fire and enjoy the game. I know we're going to be getting some snow up here in the Northeast, so it's a good day to hunker down and watch some football, and hope the Upland world enjoys and does the same.
Yeah. All right, everybody, have fun, be safe, and we'll see you out there in the metaverse.